Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm just gonna get started in just a second, just trying to figure out the technology and whatnot, so give me just a sec, stay tuned. I will be starting in just 1 minute. If anybody who's watching can just comment and say, hey, they can hear me and see me and everything, just to make sure it's all going good, that would be awesome if someone could do that. You can just comment in the video underneath. Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm really excited to be cooking for you guys today. If anybody wants to let me know if they're cooking along with me, that would be really cool. Otherwise, you can just stay tuned, and I will, and I'll show you what I'm doing. So today we're going to be making mini frittatas. Oh, and before I get started, Happy Earth Day! So exciting! I love Earth Day. I think it's really awesome. And so this was kind of the inspiration for doing this video today. Also needed a meal prep anyway, and so I thought I'd share it all with you guys. So today we're going to be making mini frittatas, which, if you know what a frittata is, it's usually an egg dish baked in a big pan. And so today we'll be using cupcake dishes and making little small ones. And they're really great. I love making a big batch of these to throw in the freezer. I leave them at work in the freezer, and then I can microwave them and have a quick breakfast or a quick snack or anything like that. So we'll get started. If you have any questions as we go along, feel free to put them in the chat box, and every so often I'll look up to see if there's any questions. So we're gonna get started. So I posted the recipe in the comments or like in the description underneath the video. So if you want to see that, you can follow along. Otherwise, we'll just get in. So the first thing to do is to chop your veggies. And the best thing about this recipe is you can use any veggies you'd like. You can use whatever's in your fridge. You can go out and get fresh veggies. Doesn't really matter, whatever is in season. So today I have some beautiful purple broccoli, Rob, a carrot, a pepper, some zucchini, and I have a little bit of asparagus from my garden, which is really awesome. So I'm really excited for that. And we will see how it goes. Usually I end up accidentally throwing in and some onion. Usually I accidentally throw in a little too much vegetables, so I end up having to either double the egg or double the chickpea recipe, and but then you just end up with more, and there's more vegetables, so it's exciting. So we're just gonna get ready and get started with some chopping. So I was thinking about what I could do to fill the time while I chop, since I thought it would be fun to chop the vegetables with you, since in case you're also cooking at home, then it doesn't go too fast. So I will tell you fun facts about vegetables while we cook. Oh, and also one thing I forgot is to set your oven. So I'm going to preheat my oven to 360 degrees. So I'm going to get that turned on right now. All right. Now, when you chop your vegetables, you want to chop them in really small pieces. It doesn't have to be like minuscule, like minced, but you want pretty small pieces, so that you can get a bunch of little vegetable bites and kind of diversify your vegetable bites within the little frittata. So just get started. So I'm starting with red pepper. I love red pepper, not just for its flavor, but fun fact about red pepper is it actually has a ton of vitamin C. And people usually associate oranges with vitamin C, but red pepper actually has more vitamin C than oranges. And right now, with all the COVID virus going on, vitamin C is a great way to help protect yourself against viral infection. So vitamin C rich foods like peppers are a great thing to throw into your cooking right now. Also, broccoli is really high in vitamin C, so we'll be throwing that in today. So when you have all your veggies chopped, you can just throw them all together in a big bowl. So it's actually, I'm really, really excited to be doing this right now, and I'm excited that you guys are all watching because I have always had this dream of hosting a cooking show. My favorite part, which I did not prep for today because, again, I wanted to cook along with you guys, but my favorite part is when they say, oh, you know, here's this carrot, and then they pull out this bowl of like pre-chopped carrots, and you chop the carrots, and here they are. And I love that, and I used to do that as a kid. I would make my own little cooking show in mud with mud and just pretend in the backyard. And you know, oh, here's the prepared thing. So this is really fun. And maybe next time I will do, maybe if I pre-record things instead of kind of do a tutorial along with people watching, then I'll do the pre-prepped. Also, I kind of had this dream of getting stuff ready and having it being like, oh, you're gonna put this in the oven and then pull it out, and here's a nice one all done already. But again, that didn't happen this time, so maybe next time. So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat box. So I know most of the people tuning into this are probably my friends on Facebook who saw this, which is awesome. I really appreciate you guys for joining. But for those who don't possibly know me, since I haven't looked through to see who's tuning in, I'm a naturopathic doctor in Portland, Oregon, also with a satellite practice in Los Angeles. And I focus mostly on cancer care, but also just general well-being and health. I have a master's degree in nutrition, and so nutrition is one of my true loves, hence the cooking class today. And yeah, so I work a lot with cancer patients. I'm working on putting together a cooking series for cancer patients. So if you know of anyone who's interested, let me know. It was going to be an in-person thing, but now with everything that's going on, we might put it online, which means we can actually reach more people. So if you're interested, let me know, and I will make sure you get the information for that. So as you see, cutting some carrot here, you can kind of see the size that I'm cutting. It's about that big. Thanks, Mary, or Masha, thanks, Mary. Try not to get your hair in the cooking food, which is always a problem for me. So another thing is I love making these mini frittatas and putting some toppings on them. So some of my favorite toppings are guacamole. Cut up tomato is also another favorite. And they do, so we have two versions that we're doing today. One is egg and one is chickpea. The chickpea one tends to come out a little bit drier, and so I find like putting something like avocado or guacamole on it really helps make it super enjoyable. Not necessary, but just helpful. Now I'm cutting some zucchini. And again, everything just gets thrown into the pot or into the bowl. Now I'm curious, does everyone who's watching know what naturopathic medicine is? And if you don't, feel free to comment and let me know so I can explain kind of what it is I do on a day-to-day and what a naturopathic doctor is. If most of you know already, then that's totally great, and I won't bore you with details. Well, I don't think it's boring, but I won't tell you things you already know. Now zucchini is awesome because if you've read or looked into any of the like paleo cookbooks or grain-free cookbooks, zucchini is used a lot to make noodles, and it's a really awesome thing to make a raw grain-free noodle situation. And they're called zoodles, and you can get zoodlers, which are little machines that create little, you put the vegetable through and it makes little spirals. And so that can be a fun thing. Also, even if you are not grain-free but just want to diversify your food or add more vegetables to your diet, zoodles are a nice way to add vegetables. I got a really big carrot, so it's taking a long time. In fact, it's a carrot. So one thing I like to do when I cook any meal, not just this meal, but any meal, is diversify the colors of the foods that I'm eating. So plants, amazing as they are, because Mother Nature is so incredible, and it's Earth Day, so we should also celebrate her extra special today. She has put so many incredible phytonutrients into all of her plants and all of these plant foods. And different colors represent different phytonutrients. And so when you eat just one color of vegetable, you're only getting that phytonutrient. It's good, but you could maximize it by adding in colors of from all over the rainbow. So, for example, I do have a lot of green things today. I like green, but we have red in the carrot, red in the pepper, yellow or orange in the carrot, green in zucchini. We also have green in broccoli and some asparagus. We have some white and yellows in what I forgot to mention, but I also got some mushrooms today at the farmer's market, at the People's Co-op Farmer's Market in Portland. So mushrooms have some yellow and white. Onion has some yellow and white. And so it's nice to eat the rainbow, as they say, to get the most colors in your diet, so you get the most phytonutrients in your diet. And what a lot of those phytonutrients do, because you may be asking yourself, why do I care about phytonutrients? Well, phytonutrients are all of your antioxidants that keep you healthy and fight infection and prevent aging and kind of help you age gracefully if you eat a lot of antioxidants. Not that it will make you live longer necessarily, but it can make the process smoother. So now we're cutting some broccoli. So like I said, I think broccoli is one of the most amazing vegetables. One, because it's so popular and widely available, but two, because it just has so many health benefits. Vitamin C, like I was talking about, and then also broccoli has what's called sulforaphane. Actually, it's in broccoli sprouts, but there's some present in broccoli. But sulforaphane helps your liver process hormones and estrogen, and so we are inundated with estrogens, xenoestrogens in our world, in plastics, in other things, and so eating broccoli can help your body really process all of those environmental toxins that we have in our day-to-day life, and help your body get rid of them in a healthy way. So yay, broccoli. Oh, and here, we even have some purple in the broccoli too, so we got another color. Now, I will tell you that this recipe is really easy. This is literally the hardest part, is just getting all your vegetables chopped. Once the vegetables are chopped, it's easy peasy. So we're going to throw our broccoli into the bowl. Now, I'm doing more vegetables than you probably need for one recipe's worth, because I'm going to kind of split it up and do both the vegan and the non-vegan versions. So, so you'll see me chopping more vegetables. But you could also do more vegetables and just make a bigger batch too. So. All right, and then lastly, some mushrooms in here. And the nice thing about this recipe too is that because you're just throwing everything into a batter, it doesn't really matter what your vegetables look like. You can chop them really coarse. They don't have to be all exactly the same size. They don't have to be pretty. It's really just whatever gets the job done and kind of gets them into some smaller bits so that you can fit a bunch into the pan. Now, mushrooms, I know a lot about nutrition, but more so about cancer nutrition, since that's the world I live in. And mushrooms are a huge part of what I recommend to patients all the time, in supplement form and in whole food form. Mushrooms have a lot of potent immune stimulating things or components. So again, good for what we're going through right now. Good to boost your immune system. They also have a lot of anti-cancer properties to help fight tumors, and again, to boost the immune system to help find cancer in the body. So mushrooms are awesome. And you don't need them in capsule form. You can just also include them in your diet. Some of the most, these happen to be chestnut mushrooms from my local mushroom guy, but you could use any mushroom. Some of the most potent immune stimulating mushrooms that you can eat are shiitake and maitake. Those are really awesome. So like when I'm making, like when I don't feel well and making a soup or just making like a nice broth for the winter, I'll add a bunch of shiitake mushrooms to it for their immune boosting power. Another really powerful immune boosting mushrooms are reishi, which you may have heard of, and turkey tail. But they're very, very woody mushrooms, and you would not want to eat them on their own. It's best in capsule form when they're ground up in a water extract or something like that, because you don't want to try chewing on that. All right, we got our mushrooms. And then I'm actually, because we have a ton of vegetables, I'm just going to skip the onion today. Because I'm actually going to use some green onion instead, but you could totally use onion if you'd like to. All right, so we have our veggies chopped up. Now I'm going to do some green onion, which is also a vegetable, which is slightly different. See if I can get them unpeeled. There we go. So these are monster green onions that I got today. So it says one bunch, but I'm only going to use a couple because there's so many, or they're so big. But if with a smaller, regular sized green onion, you would want to use the whole bunch. And this you're just going to chop up really small, or just like insert and chop in little circles. And then also I will say that I have here my compost bowls. So I love to compost vegetables. I'm just going to put a plug for compost. I do happen to have a compost in my backyard which is awesome. If you want to talk about compost or you have questions about compost, let me know. There are more meticulous ways of doing it, but that's not really how I do things. So what we do is we just throw anything in the compost. So meticulous in that there's technically, in order to get the right temperature of your compost to break everything down, you're supposed to do a specific ratio of carbon to nitrogen, which I'm not going to get into because it doesn't really matter. I honestly think that you should just throw everything that's green or plant material in your compost and just let it go all together. It doesn't matter the ratio. It works every year. Once a year, we then clear our compost out and use it in our garden, and it is just fine, even without making sure we have the right measurements or ratios. So, and a lot of cities, which is awesome, are adopting the policy that you can put your food compost into the green trash can. So if you're not able to have a compost of your own for whatever reason, you can oftentimes put it in the green trash can, but check with your city because that's varies by city. And we even have our neighbors next door. We live next to an apartment complex, and they don't have a green trash can at their facility or at their building. And so a few of them have come over and asked if they can put it in our green trash can, which of course I am totally happy with because I would rather have food go in compost than in trash. So just a little plug for compost. Okay, so we have all the green onions. I'm going to throw that in with the veggies. All right. Now, one thing today, when I went to go grocery shopping for this meal, was everyone is out of fresh garlic, which is crazy. I went to 2 different stores, and they were both out of fresh garlic. So we're not using fresh garlic today, but that's a nice little opportunity to be creative. So I'm just going to use some garlic powder instead. I would rather use fresh garlic, but we do what we can. All right, so next I'm going to, since I don't have to chop any garlic, I think I'm just to the point of, so we're going to start with actually the chickpea version, the egg-free, the vegan version, because it's just a little bit more steps, and then I have to make the batter first. So we're going to start there. So it requires chickpea flour, which you can get at the store. Also, too, what I like doing, and I feel very fortunate, is that I have a Vitamix at my house. And so what I can do is I can start with whole chickpeas, and then I can put them in the blender and make chickpea flour. Now, I did this earlier because it's really loud, and I didn't want to have to mute myself or scare you guys off, so I made it earlier. But if you do this in the dry blender, it is very loud. Wear either noise canceling headphones or earplugs or like big anything that really blocks the sound from you, because it's not good for you to ruin your hearing. So we're going to start with 1 cup of garbanzo bean flour. Now, if you know me, which some of you on this call or on this video might, I'm not a huge fan of measuring things usually. I am for this video so that y'all can follow along. But you know, it's like, this is just cooking in general. Like if a little bit gets in the bowl, like, oh well, doesn't matter. Life's not perfect. Some of these chickpeas didn't quite get small enough. So I'm going to pull them out. But the Vitamix is really nice. If you don't have a Vitamix, I highly, highly recommend it. It's nice because you can literally turn anything into flour. You can make your own rice flour. You can make your own quinoa flour. It's really nice for gluten-free cooking because sometimes those flours aren't as readily available, but you can always get the whole grain form, so that's really nice. Okay, so next is 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast. That's what I have here. Anyone who's vegan or into vegan cooking or wants to get into vegan cooking, nutritional yeast is amazing. It adds kind of that umami, cheesy flavor. It's great on popcorn. It's great. I like to make a tofu scramble in the morning, some mornings, and I add nutritional yeast that adds like kind of that like yeasty flavor. But it just really makes vegan products taste a little bit more oomph, like they have more going on. So I love nutritional yeast for that. All right, next is thyme. So I'm gonna get a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. Next is rice milk. So I'm going to do 3/4 of a cup of rice milk. And for this, you could use just about anything. You could use rice milk, almond milk, soy milk, any dairy alternative milk will work. Oat milk. I just happen to have rice milk, so we're using rice milk. Add that in. All right, and next is 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Welcome to y'all who are just tuning in. We're about most of the way through this. We're just squeezing some lemon right now to make lemon juice. I also think you should get messy. You should get your hands dirty when you cook. So I just got a bunch of lemon juice all over my hand, all over the cutting board, but hey, make it work. So, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And now the recipe didn't call for this, but since you guys are on the video, I'm going to tell you this. A secret to cooking to really make your food pop is to add a little bit of citrus and a little bit, so I guess acid, so a little bit of either lemon juice, lime juice, or vinegar, and a little bit of maple syrup. And I'm just talking about a splash. And that combination really makes things pop. So I'm going to splash maple syrup to this. It wasn't in the original recipe. I forgot to include it, but we're going to add it. Just a little bit of maple syrup, and I think the last thing is just a couple tablespoons of olive oil. All right, so now we have all of our ingredients for our chickpea mixture. So I'm going to go ahead and mix these up. Now, usually when I make this recipe, I usually do the chickpea more than the egg, but I at least double the chickpea amount because if you're cooking along, you'll see this. Otherwise, like it's not that much. Like that made about maybe 2 cups of liquid, or chickpea batter. So with the amount of vegetables that I have in here, for example, like that would never cover it. So you definitely have to up the chickpeas just to match the amount that you are of vegetables that you have. Okay, so that's done. So next we are going to scramble some eggs. Now I'm just going to do them in this big pot because I'm going to mix everything into this bowl eventually. So I'm just going to scramble them in here, but you can also scramble them separately and add them into a bowl. Eggshells, great in combos. Squish them up. Try not to get the eggshell in there. So I don't know if you can see this, but I got some really beautiful eggs. Like, they are so multicolored. I got gray and blue and orange brown. I don't know. It was just really cool. So I'm doing a smaller batch. Usually this recipe calls for 12 eggs, but because I'm kind of splitting the recipe, I'm only doing 8 eggs. Also because it's what I had in my house, and I don't eat eggs often, so I didn't want to buy more. So here we go. All right, I'm gonna actually wash my hands this time since they now have raw egg on them, so 1 second. Now we're gonna scramble some eggs. So eggs can be a really good source of protein and something called choline, which is important for healthy cellular function. Also a good source of B vitamins. They do have some cholesterol in them, so that is something to be aware of if you have cholesterol issues. But I actually think that conversation is a little bit more nuanced, and that sugar itself is more of an issue for high cholesterol than cholesterol in food. But that's a topic for another day, or you can ask me about it later. Okay, so we have our eggs all scrambled. So I'm going to mix my veggie mixture up to get the veggies evenly mixed, and then disperse it into these two things. So I'm just going to kind of split it into half and half. And I tend to like my cooking like super veggie dense. But if that doesn't make you happy, then of course do what makes you happy, and you don't have to use as much vegetable as I do. Okay, so where are we at? So now we can add the herbs. And so, like I said, usually I use fresh garlic, but since I don't have fresh garlic, I'm going to use garlic powder. If you would like to follow the recipe, feel free to measure. I am personally not going to because it's just not how I cook, but I did include the measurements there. For garlic powder, I would say maybe a teaspoon of garlic powder if you're going to replace the garlic at least. But I really love garlic, so I like to lay it on really thick. Do what makes you happy. Also, garlic, super, and I think this is why it's out right now. Also antiviral, also good for the immune system, and so I think that's why all the stores are out, is because people are buying up garlic like crazy right now. Parsley, also great spice or herb. I love parsley. Put it in lots of things. Parsley also has vitamin C, so that's good for you. Also really good for detox. Parsley and cilantro, great for detox. So add some parsley. And then salt and pepper to taste. Now, I will measure salt this time because I do think it's important to measure salt. So I'm going to do, I would say you could do about a teaspoon in a batch. So I realize I don't have that on the recipe. So I'm going to do about half a teaspoon in each of these batches. With the chickpea, I might actually like do a heaping teaspoon because beans tend to need a lot more salt to make them palatable and not just bland. So glad you love garlic too, Erin. Good to see you. Good to see you, Arlie too. Thanks for commenting, guys. Thanks for watching. All right, now the last thing, which is optional, but I happen to have it already in my house, so I'm going to throw it in, is some smoked salmon. So this can be a really nice addition to the egg frittata. I mean, you could put it in the chickpea frittata, but usually I tend to keep vegan things vegan, and chickpea, or in the egg can kind of go either way. But I guess also too, like, I don't eat a lot of meat, so, but you could theoretically throw in ham or throw in some turkey or anything like that to boost the protein content of your frittata. For anyone who's local in Portland, who I don't know if anyone on this call is, but there's a really awesome place called Flying Fish. They have really awesome locally sourced, sustainable fish. And they also have sushi quality fish, so that's really fun if you ever want to throw a sushi night. They're a really great resource. And also just like a family-run business, and the owner is really awesome. So shout out to Flying Fish. That's where the fish came from today. Okay, so I'm going to wash my hands now that they're fishy. And we're going to mix this up, and then we'll be ready to throw it in the oven. So you just mix everything together into like a sloppy mess. All right, the egg one is all mixed together. Chickpea one together. Now, I don't think I had enough chickpea batter, but that's okay. It'll come out very vegetable heavy this time. So in the end, your chickpea one will look something like that, and the egg one will look something like that. Kind of just like a soupy mess of vegetables. All right, I'm going to clear some of this stuff out of the way. So then you're going to take your cupcake pan, and you're going to take a little bit of oil. And what I like doing is either using, you can do it with just like putting a little bit in each one. You could use butter, you could use coconut oil, you could use any oil to butter your pan. But it really does help them come out better in the end. I do think this is non-stick, so I think it would be fine, but just for fun, I'm going to do it. So you can use, what I like to do is just put a little bit of oil on a rag and then wipe that around. But you could also use some tissue or some paper towel. I know some of the people on this call know I don't really have those things at my house, so. It's best if you use a towel that's not super absorbative. This one is absorbing a little bit more than I would like, but again, it is what it is. And I think this is non-stick anyway, so I think it'll come out in the end. So I'm going to start with the chickpea one because it's what's closest to me. So then you just fill in your cupcake tray. And you don't have to worry this isn't going to expand, so you can fill it to the top. It's not like actual cupcakes. This looks so good. I'm so excited, guys. Thanks for joining me to make these. I'm so happy. It's going to be my breakfast for the next week. So with the amount I made, I filled up about 11 of these 12. Obviously, if you make a bigger batch, it'll make more. And this was not quite a half batch. Okay, so those ones are done. And then next we're going to do our egg ones. So I'll try to do these. Yeah, so question, will these freeze? Yes, they do. And that's one of my favorite things about them is they do freeze. And so I usually make one big batch at a time, and then I throw them in the freezer at work, and then I have them ready to go. So yes, that is one of the best things about this recipe. All right, so now we're going to do our egg mixture. Sorry for the silence. As you guys can tell, I'm very, very focused on making sure that these get in these cups. Okay. Okay, so now they're ready to go in the oven. I'm gonna rinse my hand off. So our oven by now is ready to go. So I'm gonna stick these in there. Ooh, I forgot. I don't usually hide pans or store pans in the oven, but I did forget. So you'll see me. I forgot that I was. So always a good thing to check inside your oven before you turn it on. That's just like a random tip. I've cooked at friends' houses and gone to preheat their oven and like had stuff in there that really shouldn't have been sitting in there for that long. So good thing to check. I did not. So here we go. But all right. So now we're gonna throw these in. And I'm going to set a timer for about 15 minutes. It says 12 to 15, but I tend to like mine on a little bit more well done side, so I do the 15. And then you can always check by sticking something in it, seeing if it comes out, or sometimes the egg will look runny and not quite ready. And the chickpea one, I usually just like feel it, and you can kind of feel it's not like pushing in, it's just kind of like bouncy. And then you'll know it's ready. And while that's cooking, I'm happy to hang out with you guys for whoever wants to hang out to see the final product. If you guys have any questions too, please feel to throw some questions up there. And yeah, and we'll just have delicious snacks very soon. Also, feel free to ask any questions about just about anything, naturopathic medicine, random nutrition questions. This recipe, it doesn't have to be any specific to this recipe though. So I will say now that I have all this chickpea flour already made up, I'm just going to store it for later. Ball jars are amazing. You can store just about anything in a ball jar. And also, as you can see, we're about to 45 minutes since when I put them in the oven, and that is also with my jibber jabber. So the whole thing takes about an hour. I think that recipes online very unrealistically put cooking time on there, and it always takes me longer. So I think an hour is like realistic for these. Not I would assume like if you saw this online, they would say like 20 minutes to prepare and 15 minutes in the oven, and then 45, a couple minutes later you have food. And I think it always ends up taking me longer. But it might also be I like cooking with other people, and so maybe just chatter gets in the way like it did here. So. Trying to think of other fun facts or tips I can do to keep you guys occupied while we're waiting for this. Really though, if you have any questions, please feel free. I would love to answer any questions. It would give me some material to go off of. I'm not a comedian or anything, so I don't really have stand-up skit prepared, but maybe I should for next time, or we have a guest appearance when we're not in quarantine mode. Yeah, prep time's not reliable. Cooking time's mostly reliable. Prep time's not reliable. So this is also a great time while food's in the oven to just clean up your workspace. And Also, this tends to happen, especially if you have just one cupcake sheet and you don't have two. Is I have some extra left over in here. This isn't that much, so I might just like, for instance, like scramble this up really quickly instead of like baking a whole cookie sheet for just one or two of extra. But in theory, you would be making a big batch, so you might have to do multiple rounds in the oven and kind of like take those out, let them cool for a little bit, pop them out, fill it back up, and add it back into the oven, which can happen. So, or you get a bunch of cookie sheets. Yeah, you could do that too. And I know I didn't do fresh garlic today because of sourcing issues, but highly recommend if you don't have a garlic press, get a really nice, I think investing in a really good garlic press is worth the money because chopping garlic is just tedious, and this makes it much easier and much quicker. Just an interesting note about garlic, even though we didn't have it, is you want to chop garlic about 10 minutes before you're going to use it to really maximize the nutritious qualities of it. There's certain compounds in it that you have to like break their cell wall in order to release the enzymes in it, and then the enzymes need some time to marinate and like all the surrounding stuff. And so I would say almost when you're cooking a recipe, start with doing the garlic first, chop or press your garlic, and then let it sit there for about 10 minutes before you use it to really maximize the nutritious quality from it. So the question is, do you think the chickpea version could be made without oil? So yeah, I would say you could definitely do it without oil. What I would do is I would then increase the amount of dairy alternative milk that you would put in it just to add more moisture. The oil really helps make it moist. So yeah, so I would just add more moisture if you were going to make it without oil. And also on oil, I know on the recipe it says olive or avocado oil. Theoretically, you could do coconut oil as well, sesame oil, any oils with high smoke points. Olive oil actually doesn't have that high of a smoke point, but at 350 it will be okay. But if you kind of go above that, olive oil is not the best. Once you use avocado is one of the best in terms of not oxidizing your oil when you put it in the oven. And so I would recommend overall I would recommend avocado oil. But I try to buy as organic as possible, and I haven't been able to find affordable organic avocado oil, so I don't use it. I use olive instead because I can get really good quality organic olive oil. So that's usually what I use. But I've been using more and more sesame oil, especially for any Asian dishes. I think it adds a really good flavor. And sesame oil also has a really high smoke point, so it's great to saute in. I haven't really baked with it, so that would be interesting, but really good to saute in. So I'm just going to move some of this stuff to the sink so that when our food is ready, we can set it out here. So I'm very fortunate. I'll kind of show you guys. This whole thing is a cutting board. So we have this massive cutting board and then like a cutting board on top of a cutting board here in my kitchen. We do a lot of cooking. So it makes life really easy to have lots of space to spread out on and not be confined. But obviously that's not an option for everybody, especially with smaller kitchens. So. It looks like we have about 5 more minutes. So does anybody else have any questions? Any questions about naturopathic medicine or what I do in my day-to-day? This happens to be, a different time and unusual that I'm actually home today. Our clinic went down from 5 days a week to 3 days a week. So now I have some extra time on Wednesdays to do stuff like this. And so I think I might end up doing them weekly if people are interested in them. We'll pick a different recipe every week. I can also try, if people are interested, they can get in touch with me. I'll try to post the recipe or at least the ingredients ahead of time. So if people want to cook along with me in their kitchen, then they can have everything ready to go. So that's an option. I didn't do it this time because I kind of woke up this morning and had this idea to do this. So I didn't give people a lot of options or a lot of time to get prepped. Okay, so good question. Would you consider this recipe an immune boosting one? So I think it's a good question. If someone were to ask me for an immune boosting recipe, I wouldn't give this one, but I think a lot of the ingredients in it do have immune boosting power, if that answers your question. So like the onion, mushrooms, garlic, pepper, broccoli, like all vegetables are really immune boosting. So in that way, yes. But if I were really to give someone, so if someone asked me for an immune boosting recipe, usually what I do is I have a soup recipe that I give people that involves shiitake mushrooms and onion and garlic and ginger, and sometimes even throwing some whole astragalus root, which astragalus is an herb usually used in traditional Chinese medicine to boost immune function. And so it goes some astragalus in there. And so I tend to think of soups as being super immune boosting, especially when you throw all those ingredients in there. But this definitely does have immune boosting ingredients. So yeah, good question. I think so. I kind of came up with. I haven't fully circulated it or put it out to anybody, but if anyone listening would like it, I did put together like a short handout on immune boosting things, especially for what we're going through. And I think just having a healthy diet and eating lots of vegetables and eating lean proteins and vegetable-based proteins is a really, really great foundation for your immune system. And like I said at the beginning, like really incorporating different colors of vegetables, so you really get all of the different nutrients from all the different colors in your food to maximize the immune boosting power of your food. All right, guys, we're so close. 2 more minutes. I'm excited. Also, I will say this is my first Facebook Live cooking class, so if you guys have any comments or feedback, please let me know. You don't have to do it on the comment thread. You can send it to me directly. It was weird when you did that, or I like this, do more of that. Anything, I would love any feedback you have, just so I can make these better in the future. Since we're almost ready, I'm gonna pull out some trivets so you can pull these out and look at them. Also, too, immune boosting, COVID, not COVID, both of those things. Drinking lots of water, really good for your whole body, your immune system, but also keeping your mucous membranes moist helps them to work. And so they have your mucous membranes, which is in your nose, in your mouth, all through your digestive system, but a lot in your nasal passageways. they have little, they call them microvilli. They're almost like little finger-like things that stick out of them. And what they do, in like the finger-like things have even smaller finger-like things hanging off of them. And what they do is they trap like pollen, viruses, different stuff from the environment. They trap them, and then they kind of push them back out towards the opening of your nose or of your mouth, and they push them back out. And those really work well, or they work at their optimal when you're hydrated. And even for your nose and for your sinus passages, it's not, you don't want to moisten them by like putting water up there, but just by consuming enough water throughout the day, the water gets to them, and you're able to have the most efficient mucous membranes to clear pathogens. So it's also really good to stay hydrated during these times. All right, well, our buzzer went off, so I'm going to check them out, see if they're ready. So I'd say these need a couple more minutes. Also, I forgot to turn convection on in the oven. This is another just like random cooking tip. If your oven has convection option and you can turn it on, that usually makes the cooking time go a little quicker because it circulates the hot air better and more efficiently, so your cooking is quicker. Forgot to turn that on, so here we are. But I turned it on now, so hopefully those will be done in another couple of minutes. So I'm going to set the timer again. Any other questions? Also, too, if you guys have any topics or recipes or food items that you want to see me do a cooking video about, let me know. I'm super open to suggestions. Today just happened to be the timing was right for me to make this recipe anyway, so that I can resupply my stocks of mini frittatas. But if you have suggestions or things that you're interested in knowing how to do, I know for a lot of people, vegan cooking is kind of, and people are trying to eat less meat, do meatless Mondays and whatever, but vegan cooking can sometimes be a little daunting because there's new ingredients that people don't know how to work with. There's kind of this preconception that vegan cooking is bland and boring, which I disagree with based on personal experience. So if that's something that people are interested in, I can do something on that. Cancer fighting foods, again, like one of my loves. High protein breakfasts, anything like that. If anyone's interested in anything, just let me know. We'll just have a couple more minutes on that. I know you guys can't smell it, but it's smelling really good in here. So again, I've got some avocado here to put on top. When these are ready, I love slicing up some avocado to put on top of these. Or I have some beautiful heirloom tomatoes. And so that's really nice to throw on top. Some guacamole, some hot sauce, chimichurri sauce, anything like that, even like a red pepper sauce would go really well on top of these. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. This has been really fun and awesome, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks. All right, let's check this out again. All right, so it's looking better. Yeah, it's looking good. Ooh, these are done. And you'll kind of start to notice, especially on the chickpea ones, when they're done, the chickpea batter starts to brown a little bit. All right, so now I can show you guys. They are hot, so I'm not going to pop them out yet. But here are our egg frittatas. And here are the chickpea frittatas, minus this one in the corner. Here are chickpea frittatas. So when they're ready, this one, all of these egg ones look like it was already even coming out. Now my cookie sheets are kind of weird. Or my cupcake sheets are kind of weird. As you can see, they kind of like get narrow. They start wide and get narrow. So mine will look a little funny, but. So there's an egg. And you probably want to let them cool and continue baking on the sheet until they're fully done, and I didn't, and so this one's going to fall apart a little bit, but it's okay. So there we go. We got our mini frittatas. And so after you let them cool, what I do is just throw them in a big Ziploc bag, throw them in the freezer after they're totally cool, because that'll help make them solidify and not stick to each other or anything like that. But then you can keep them in the fridge, keep them in the freezer, and you are good to go. So I really appreciate you guys for tuning in today. If you have any last questions, feel free to throw them on the chat. Otherwise, stay tuned, and I'll probably be doing this next Wednesday if you want to check in then. So thank you again. Happy Earth Day.